it's not enough just to provide a salary anymore. Nowadays, we are a spread out, multi-generational workforce all across the world, and salary doesn't cut it anymore. Just this year alone, we've got some of the highest scores we've had ever in our co-member satisfaction, with inclusion and belonging being the highest scoring of all of those metrics. How we can deliver those benefits is an evolving workspace every day. Previous benefit communications will have been done typically via webinar. People are probably the busiest they've ever been. That's one thing Personnel has been able to give us. We've been able to. My name is Duncan Chapman. I'm the head of pay and reward for Reading Partnership. Reading Partnership's a fantastic organisation who have multiple streams of contracts across the UK. We are about 2,600 co-members, is what we refer to our employees as, co-members, all across the UK. And some of the work we do touches every single community across the UK. So it's an excellent place to be, with a great social value of working here.
There is something really interesting that I remember from our initial conversations last year. It was the word co-member. You remember that?
Co-members is terminology used for our staff, our employees, but it's more than that. It gives a sense of ownership. It gives a sense of being part of something bigger than just your office, because we are spread all across the UK. It's about being much more than just a three-man team somewhere in the northeast. It can be you're part of a much wider organisation that makes such an impact to the UK as a whole. So yeah, the terminology co-member is not just referring to our employees, it's the sense of belonging, sense of feeling and ownership across the company.
Why is it important to have that type of culture in the organization, in your case at least?
I think it stems back to our mission as a company. It stems back to the fact we are a family-owned business, still owned majoritarily by the Reed family. And yeah, it stems back to our three values. We take ownership, we're fair, open and honest, and we work together. Those three values bring about the terminology of a co-member. Being part of something wider than just your office falls into being part ownership of that, comes into working together across the board. And yes, being fair, open and honest, I think, is a fundamental part of who we are, and it's the type of people we want to recruit, fair, open and honest people.
As partners, in this case, / vendors, it did make a difference. So I did share that with the team so that we could know where to point at. And it does make a difference. Organizations that have clear values and clear way, or the way they express about their people and the way they treat their people does make a difference in terms of the way these people in general are engaged, but also in the way we communicate with them, the time they invest, because in the end, we are all investing time and energy at work somehow. So sometimes it's not super fun, sometimes it is really fun, but in the end, when we're part of something bigger, that makes a difference. And when you're able to somehow translate that into the way you communicate or engage with them, it does make a difference. Something that comes to mind and I find fascinating is that it is not like from your position, the previous one and the current one actually, it's not enough to provide great benefits or even a great environment where people can work and can be part of, etc. But at least from our perspective, it is equally important to communicate these benefits and why here, when we could be, they could be somewhere else. Help me understand your perspective.
Sure. So I think you made a really good point there. It's not enough just to provide a salary anymore. Maybe 30 years ago, a salary was what attracted someone to a company, and you'd stay in that company for the majority of your career if the salary was sufficient. Nowadays, we are a spread out, multi-generational workforce all across the world, and salary doesn't cut it anymore. It's what people refer to as an employer value proposition, an EVP, and that's everything that you do above and beyond the salary. So yes, as you mentioned, benefits forms a big part of that. The inclusion and belonging, diversity aspect, making people feel as if they belong within a company is a huge part of our culture, and something we actually pride ourselves on a lot. Just this year alone, we've got some of the highest scores we've had ever in our co-member satisfaction, with inclusion and belonging being the highest scoring of all of those metrics.
Oh, wow.
So we're very proud of that, and a sense of belonging is something we do pride ourselves on. So yes, the benefits aspect you mentioned there. Salary is not enough anymore. The benefits is going to vet what people want and need from a company. There is so much, as we mentioned, the multi-generational workforce. How we can deliver those benefits is an evolving workspace every day. Previous organizations, you may get a booklet, and that contains a paper booklet of your pension information, your life assurance, a whole host of different benefits. But the way we consume data nowadays and engage with content, video is pretty much the heaviest hitter in terms of how people engage with that. So that was the first reason we sort of started to reach out and explore the personal total reward statements, personalized total reward statements in video content. How can we best deliver our employer value proposition, not just the salary aspect, but how can we bring everything together in a way that people are going to engage with and absorb the information? And one thing that drove us towards personnel was the call to action ability at the end of that. So the ability to guide people, not down rabbit holes, but open up. People don't sit there and read through things as much as they used to do. So guide it to them, bring it to them. And then, yes, hopefully people engage more. And we have noticed people engaging more with the benefits, asking more questions than previous, which in turn, as mentioned, has led to some of the highest co-member satisfaction scores that we've had in the history of the company.
Okay, that's interesting. So do you see a correlation between what you mentioned now, like those personal rewards videos, with the higher satisfaction from co-members?
The correlation is there. The first time we did this was, I believe it was October, we launched the videos last year. We can't put it all down to that because there's some fantastic initiatives going across the board. But it'll certainly be helping. People have a better awareness of the benefits we have in the company. And they can certainly see that we no longer just receive a salary. We have additional payments if they're eligible. We have the pension contribution from an employer, and then a whole host of benefit value too. Then the one thing that we really liked at the end, the call to action, that too was personalized. So it wasn't just everyone said, go check out the discounts platform we have. It was, if you weren't part of that discount platform, did you get that prompt? If you hadn't engaged with another benefit, you got a different prompt. So the personalization of those videos was so important and really made it engaging to the individual. What
challenges did you face before using Personal, our software, for these type of or similar communications, when you had to communicate? Sometimes it's complex information. Sometimes, if I understood that well, people didn't know what they had access to. So how would you usually communicate with them prior, in this case, partnering with Personal?
So previous benefit communications will have been done typically via webinar. We would host a webinar for our co-members, and if they thought it was relevant to them, they could sign up to the webinar, they can sit and engage with that information and take it away, and we hope that they take some actions off the back of that. Newsletters, benefit sessions, with mixed take up on those. Sometimes the topic isn't initially clear that an individual will benefit from them, and we're just so busy. People are probably the busiest they've ever been in terms of workload, so we don't always have time to engage with those webinars, to take time to read the information that's in those webinars. So that was a big challenge for us. And we had no way of tracking how many people were engaging on a monthly basis with these initiatives. That's one thing Personnel has been able to give us. We've been able to track the click-through rates from these videos. Which benefits are people showing interest in? So yes, that's one of the big issues we initially had. We don't know how many people are engaging with these benefits, and people just don't have time to be spoken to for half an hour to an hour for one small action off the back of that. So that was our main issue.
Yeah, the attention span, I mean, we all have our limitations, right? So it really depends on everyone's personality. What we say here at Personal is that the more contextualized information is, the higher the engagement. And this comes like in different shapes and forms. So you need to grab their attention, you need to engage with them and help them understand what's relevant based on their context, and then usually you need to help them take the next step in their journey. And I believe that you guys did that really well. So something I liked is that it was not just about, in your case, like, these are your benefits and that's it. So this is who you are, let's say, or in terms of you're part of this organization. That's the co-members part, for instance. And this is how we are helping you or what we are providing. But at the same time, these are the benefits you are missing out somehow. And would you like to take action? So all this said in different ways, obviously. But what we have found is that too often organizations have great critical information to share with their internal audiences, but more often than not, sadly, they fail to share that information in a way that is relevant, in this case, from an employee perspective. And especially when we talk about thousands of individuals, the impact is huge, financially speaking even. And this is even without taking into account the personal impact on these families. It's pointless, quote unquote, if people are not taking advantage of them, if they're not using them. And loads of that has to do with how the organization communicates. And it seems that you guys are on the right path from that perspective. So keep it up. So let me ask you, did you have experience? You mentioned webinars, but do you have potentially, like, your team or associated teams, let's say, do you have previous experience with video besides webinars for this type of communications, or just in general in the way you communicate internally?
We have a fantastic individual in the business. Her name's Karen, and she is based up in the northeast of England.
Okay.
She has previously produced some Powtoon videos, so small explainer videos for our onboarding, for our training modules that co-members complete, and also our customers, our participants. She's a fantastic designer in that sense. So we have a small amount of experience in that remit, but taking her guidance and her expertise, working with personnel, has been invaluable. I couldn't have done it personally without Karen. In fact, she was the voiceover for our video.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yes, she's got a fantastic voice, such a friendly character as well. So it was the perfect opportunity to utilize that and get them involved.
Great. Well, so for reference, for everyone there, they really wanted to keep it to that level of personality, let's say, to keep it like as personal as possible. I believe that they got there, so that's really good. Help me understand from that perspective the impact this had on co-members. How did they receive it? If it was positive, maybe not, that's fine too. So what was the reaction that you guys got internally?
It was very positive. I'm proud to say that when we delivered this, it's probably the first time our co-members had seen, I mean, you get your pay slip, don't you? You see your payments, but contextualizing all of the benefits alongside that payment as well, and buffering out. You don't just get paid anymore, you get paid plus, and all of these benefits that we have in place to support your well-being and development. That was really interesting. We got so much feedback from people saying, I had no idea that you as a company offered this. I had no idea that we had access to these development opportunities or funding.
Wow.
And that call to action piece we could include really spurred people towards those benefits. So it had a fantastic impact in that sense. Yes, we had one or two people come back and say, this was a little unclear. I don't understand where that figure's come from. And that's been a learning experience for us for this time around when we do this again. Slight tweaks, maybe a better explanation for different components of the video. But it's been a great learning experience for how we can deliver this and how we can continue to improve and how we deliver this information to our co-members. So
that's great. That's great to hear. There is something called the voice of the employee, similar to the voice of the customer. So there are different ways organizations can actively or quote unquote passively gather feedback from their people in general. And in this case, we're talking about our internal people, right? Employees, co-members, etc. Sometimes that happens through surveys. Sometimes that happens through, are they opening the emails or not? Are they watching the videos or not? Once they have watched the videos, what are their next steps? What are the questions they're asking, or the things they're not asking or not sharing with us? So all that is information. And when organizations use that information to improve the way they engage, they connect, they emotionally invest in their people even better, because that's how you are able to speak their same language. When this is done, like from an organizational perspective, it is even more impactful. And if you guys keep doing this, not only with video personalization, but using this information to see what's the best way to help them or to support their journey, their experience, their lives in the end, even better. It is extremely useful. And it has also a great impact in terms of advocacy or loyalty, retention. So yeah, keep it up, keep it up. This was your first experience, if I'm not mistaken, with video personalization.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And tell me about your process, because obviously you guys are not video experts except your colleague, and obviously you're busy, and you had loads going on around that day. Even we spoke about security and the requirements from a compliance perspective that your organization has, which is great actually. Guide me through your experience in this case working with us, taking into account that you didn't have experience with video personalization.
Mm-hmm. So obviously you mentioned a really good point there about the security and compliance element of the videos. These videos are containing pretty sensitive personal information, people's salaries, benefits, what they've engaged with. That can be quite personal to some people. Some people are very happy to talk about it, others not so much. So we have a very rigorous compliance process within Read and Partnership, and that's part and parcel of why we're trusted so much by our commissioners, because we're very secure in that element. Mm-hmm. We carry the same responsibility to our co-members, not just our customers and our commissioners, but to our co-members too. So upholding the standards from a GDPR and ISO compliance. When we were going through the contracting process, and I believe there was back and forth a little bit on our contracts, it was great to see that you had the expected security settings that we were looking for, and the standardization that you had was very high security settings. We were even able to keep the data that we were plugging into these videos here in the UK, as part of our expectation was that wouldn't leave the UK. So we kept it onshore, which is something I've never been involved with, handling data in that sense, but keeping onshore made our contract team very happy, our data compliance team very happy that it was staying onshore, and the data, when we presented it in video format, was delivered with extra layers of security to ensure that it was going to the right people, not someone else getting my total reward statement, for example. And yes, it was all security locked, even to the point where someone could open the video. There was even a password option to select it. So I love that. When we could do that, that really rang bells in my head that this is the right way to do this.
Okay. An often concern about video personalization for especially the first time for organizations in general, and I would say maybe just with personalization, is that, all right, we're using people data, contact data, and sometimes that information can be quite sensitive. How do we make sure that this person gets what is supposed to be for that person? And where is all this hosted and all that? And that's when we spoke about, we have an infrastructure in the UK, and we have the same infrastructure, for example, in the US. It does give peace of mind. Also, we are an European company, so it makes things easier also because, GDPR, ISO 27001 and all that. But security is important. Security is important. It's not only from an organizational perspective, fines or things like that, or even compliance, but also because you want your people to feel safe. Let's say they're using my information with my consent, and it is to serve me better. It is to help me understand this or this or this in a better way. And that's also part of the experience people nowadays are expecting, most of them. So more than 66% of people expect that type of personalized experience, but it needs to be secure. Otherwise, we are doing something wrong. There are other companies like Personal in the market. What led you to choose Personal
I'm trying to think where we first started, because it's been a long journey. Yours and mine's conversations, and your teams as well, which has been fantastic support. The thing that attracted us initially to personnel, I think we did a bit of a market review. We took calls with 3 different companies and even external consultants. One thing that personnel came out at was very competitive in pricing. We managed to agree a fantastic fee, which meant we could work more openly with you guys. We had a 2-way conversation throughout the whole process. And the data security elements you could provide upfront and clearly. And also the secure platform, which our assets could be uploaded to. There was nothing needed to be sent over email. All of it could be uploaded to the secure platform. And that gave us, that peace of mind we needed and wanted in this process. So they're probably the 3 main things we had. The 2-way communication brought us to personnel, the security element, and then the price competitiveness brought us to you guys.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. How much were you expecting to do from an execution perspective, like design, or I believe I shared some feedback with you, but the script came from your end, different creative components of the video, landing pages, personalized landing pages in this case, and so on.
I'll be honest, I had no idea going into the project how much this would fall on us and how much you guys would be assisting with. I was pleasantly surprised with how much you guys were assisting us with. The design of the video templates, the assets that we provided from a brand asset standpoint. You were able to digest that information clearly, asked us a few questions on what would Read in Partnership say, how would we deliver it that way. So you pretty much assimilated to our brand very easily. And then when it was delivered, there was no questions of, this is a third party who's done this. It was, this is a Read in Partnership project. So that was very clear in the delivery there.
Because this doesn't come directly, please correct me if I'm wrong, from internal communications. I mean, internal communications did, if I'm not mistaken, collaborate, sending the emails. But was this project was it born on your side, or it was more like another department and then you could continue with the project on your end with your department?
Without sounding too big-headed, it came from me. We initially got the ball rolling on there. We consulted with our internal communications and marketing team to ensure what we were doing, we weren't going to step on any toes. They had other plans or something. We got their sign-off and their agreement, and they even helped us with the collaboration aspect in ensuring what we were going to deliver was to the brand voice, and we weren't just reinventing the wheel, something that was not even Read in Partnership. So yes, it was a collaborative effort for sure. We do work together. One of our core values, we really do stick to that. And if they're watching this, just a huge thank you to the team in marketing and comms for their support on that. It couldn't have been done without them.
What are your future plans? It doesn't have to involve personalized videos because we are in this conversation, but what are your future plans in terms of continuing investing in these people's lives, in terms of engagement and helping them understand rewards information, whatever is business critical on your end?
It's a really good question. I had primarily thought about how we're going to improve the total reward statements this year, both in video, and explore the route of having written or interactive elements. So someone can look into their salary and see a breakdown of when payments were made, or national insurance contributions, pension contributions, something a bit more interactive. I know my counterpart at the Read recruitment side of things has done a great job there. So I might be leveraging their headspace a little bit and picking some ideas from them. But from a total reward statement side of things, the videos, I attended a conference last year actually, which said there was a lot of information about the way that people were engaging with information from a benefits aspect and the hyper personalization. So not just Duncan is not engaged with the pension, therefore I'm going to deliver pension information to him. The information that would be delivered would be so specific to me. It could be based on my age. It could be looking at demographics. It could be looking at background in some cases. It's a slippery slope, and it's not one I'm 100% comfortable with, because some of the assumptions you may make coming from a white male, that's probably not a rounded assumption to be making on everyone across the business. So a bit of a panel approach, I think, is the way to go. Delivering certain benefits to individuals at different points in their lives. Whilst it might not be initially apparent to them that this benefit or this initiative is great for me, if it's put on a plate in front of you based on some of your information we hold, that is something I think could be very valuable. So the hyper-personalization of the benefits delivery. Slippery slope, one I'm not 100% comfortable with just yet, so something we need to knock around a little bit and iron out the creases on.
Yeah. So in the end, that's what we call saturated audiences. And so we all have just too many things every day. And it is becoming harder for organizations to help their people pay attention and understand, and they take action. So what we see at Personal is that the more, without getting too crazy, unless you can, the more contextualized the information is, which takes into account that we have dynamic lives. So, right now, I'm a father of 1, tomorrow maybe of 6. Just kidding, or maybe, I don't know. So, no, life changes, and today I live in this city, tomorrow it might be another city. Life changes, and there are different circumstances. And the thing here is brands, organizations, people's teams that support the life of their people, their audiences, in that process throughout those changes, that are able to pay without getting too crazy attention to those changes, and know how to respond, or how to keep the conversation based on those just how dynamic our lives are, better. They perform better from an engagement perspective. And the more engaged people are, the more loyal they are, the easier they make it for us to communicate with them, because they tend to pay more attention. And also they are able to perform the type of actions we are expecting somehow from them. And this happens because we are able to adapt to, or understand and adapt to their context, their concerns, their needs, etc. And while doing that, we are also fulfilling or accomplishing our particular business goals. So that's one of the reasons why hyper-personalization in this case works really well. And it doesn't have to be too crazy. We have a few strategies for that. For example, there are industries like the hospitality industry that have somehow done that throughout the years. We've done it with some of our clients, and they are really great opportunities. And the key point here, in case it helps for you and for people listening now, is basically making sure that the information we have access to, that we have already gathered, that we understand that information, and we ask ourselves, okay, this is where I want to get, this is where I want this person to get based on this person's context. How can I help that person get there with this information I have access to? And usually what you do is that you interpret that information to help to continue the conversation through a video, email, PDF, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be always with video. And organizations that are already doing that, and I believe you are one of those, are making a big difference. And with all the noise people have already, I mean, all of us at a personal level, personal with an E in this case, not with an I, it does make a difference, and it makes your communications more effective. And with most people, reports show that something like 30% plus of employees, generally speaking, I don't know about your particular organization or don't remember, ignore many of the corporate communications, even if it is like important information. But it doesn't happen because they don't want to pay attention, it's because they have many things to do, or because previous communications haven't been able to successfully engage with them. Therefore, they just ignore them all, which is sad, but that's the reality. So that's why what you're doing is important.
Definitely.
So I really appreciate your time. It's been great to hear about your experience and also working with us. For me, personally, it's been a pleasure working with you. I do like I'm trying to find the word for this. I like I enjoy working with people that want to connect with other people. You've done that, and it makes it enjoyable. So I really appreciate that opportunity as well. Keep investing in your audiences. Keep investing in your people, in their emotional bank. Even it is really important. It does make a difference, and hopefully we'll continue supporting your experience and different initiatives. Let's say to make that happen.
It's been an absolute pleasure as well. And yes, fingers crossed we can continue to work together.